Welcome, everyone, to the Monthly Movie Dispatch, the movie review show from friends you can trust. Every week, we broadcast a review of a new film, talk about some film news, and recommend what to watch. We've been talking, critiquing, and gushing over movies since we were in high school, and we aim to bring you honest conversation about relevant cinema. My name is Shaun Bowlby, and I am here with my brother, Brandon Bowlby.
How's it going?
Pretty good. Today we are going to review a couple films. We're going to start off today with the Norwegian film The Worst Person in the World, and then we're going to do a feature review of the Japanese film Drive My Car. Kind of decided to do two films this week just to kind of fill out our... Last week we did Flea, which was nominated for Best International Film. Yeah, go. Correction?
Oh, no, it's not just Sorry, it's multiple countries. You were partially right. Okay. Anyways, no. It's like Norwegian, Danish, Swedish. It was like a joint thing.
Yeah. True. I think
Nothing really to correct. Never mind.
Anyways. So then we're going to do Drive My Car, the Japanese film Drive My Car, and we're kind of filling out our international film Oscar nominees. We did Flea last week, which we both thought was incredible, and now we're going to do these two films. Their other two nominees are, Brandon, you have them pulled up?
The Hand of God Italian film, which I saw on Netflix. I don't know. We'll probably not discuss
it. That was
it.
Who was the filmmaker?
The director of The Great Beauty.
Yeah,
which is a really... and he did The Young Pope on HBO, if anyone saw that. Pablo Sorrento is like really visual.
One of your favorite films, like, of all time.
One of my favorite directors, but the movie was fine. It was decent. Not worth podcasting about.
Yeah.
And then the fifth film, Lunana, a yak in the classroom, which I don't know if I'll ever see. Unless maybe it'll win, and then I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Never heard of it, but apparently it's really
kind of, for me, it's kind of out of left field.
100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
What is the deal with this yak in this classroom?
We shall find out.
And what is Lunana going to do about it?
Yeah. Maybe we do need to see it.
Yeah, maybe, probably. It's just I've never even heard of it until these nominees came out. So, anyways, why don't we jump in? Yeah, why don't we jump into our first review? We're going to talk about the film The Worst Person in the World. Oh man, this is going to be tough, Brandon.
Directors' names.
Yeah, so we got a bunch of names.
Go for it. Just run through it.
It is directed by Joachim Trier, starring Renate. Oh my gosh.
Rensve,
Andres Danielson.
Danielson. I feel like that one's pretty
Danielson.
Kind of English.
Oh my gosh, this is embarrassing. Herbert Nordum. That one was Nordrum. Herbert Nordrum. That one was fairly easy. Okay, I would have to do that once more in this episode when we get to Drive My Car. Very embarrassing, but let's, so the plot description is after his wife's unexpected death, a renowned this is the plot description of Drive My Car. And, let me just pull up Worst Person in the World. Okay. You sabotaged me, Brandon. Okay. The Worst Person in the World's IMDb, plot summary is the chronicles of 4 years in the life of Julie, a young woman who navigates the troubled waters of love life and struggles to find her career path, leading her to take a realistic look at who she really is. This movie is available on Netflix, I believe. Is that? Yeah, it's out on Netflix. No. Oh my gosh, what am I thinking? I saw this in theaters. I don't think it's available anywhere, is it? Aside from theaters.
No, in theaters only right now.
Mm-hmm. I just watched Stowaway last night, and that was on Netflix, and I somehow put that on this movie. So yeah, I saw it in theaters. I believe you saw it back in December somehow. Is that correct?
Not
Like
December.
saw
I
it like a
saw it.
month ago.
Saw it when I got back to New York
Mm,
3 4 weeks ago. Um,
nice.
yeah.
So this
Initial
is
thoughts?
yeah. So this is pretty fresh in my head. I saw it a couple days ago. Um, and yeah, my initial thoughts. I quite like this movie. It's an interesting film about, and it really does kind of ask the question of how do you kind of find love, and how do you build yourself a fulfilling and a wholesome life in a non-selfish way, I guess. How do you try to better yourself in a way that doesn't hurt other people, and what does it mean when you do hurt other people, especially those you love?
Interesting name title for a
Yeah,
film, right?
definitely.
Going along with what you're saying. And
Yeah, for
maybe it's
sure.
purposefully a little contradicting.
Yeah,
Like this is not the worst person in the world.
yeah, clearly is
Even
not.
though things that are happening are very sad
Hmm.
and decisions are being made throughout this movie, that you might not necessarily do yourself, but you understand that like people are trying to figure themselves out, figure out
Hmm.
their lives,
Yeah,
and in this
a-
confusing world.
absolutely. And it is kind of like that question of when you hurt other people, to kind of better your own life, or because you think it's the right decision for you, is it's kind of how does that weigh on you as a person, and what does that mean, I guess, in a moral sense. This is a very interesting film. I really liked how it's broken up. It's broken up into, let's see, a bunch of several
12.
different chapters, 12 different chapters.
A lot of chapters for a movie that's doing chapters, I feel
Yeah,
like.
that is true.
It's
And
smaller discrete segments than
yeah,
usual.
and I think that they were really clever with their chapters, and like how the movie was broken up, um, almost thematically in that sense. And
It covers a lot of time, the
mhm,
story.
yeah,
Like years of this, the main character's like 30s, and
hmm,
the chapters break it up, showing you like kind of distinct relationships or situations that really had like major impact on the decisions she made throughout those years.
yeah, definitely. And she goes through big, you know, swinging life changes pretty quickly, almost in montages sometimes. Like especially in the beginning of the movie, she goes from being a medical student to uh, a
Photographer,
photographer.
yeah.
Wasn't she a lawyer at some? She decided she wanted to be a lawyer or something. Anyways, she goes through big life swings in kind of montage form, and
Sometimes on a whim,
yeah,
like right,
yeah.
like she's just scrolling through her
It,
phone and she's like, "All right, I'm doing photography now."
Yeah,
Like she,
definitely. Like she just sees a cool looking picture and she's like, I'm giving up my life as a potentially a doctor to pursue this other thing that kind of I think will provide me a more fulfilling life. And that's kind of how the movie starts, um, and it just kind of builds from there. I think there's some really clever, really incredible scenes in this movie. Um, uh, I'm trying to think if I want to talk about any of them in particular. Some of them
you can maybe
aren't
vaguely
really spoiled.
mention them. I'm
There's
sure.
like
I'm sure
there's
we have the same handful of
yeah,
highlights.
like I mean, early in the film, there's like a scene where she meets someone at a wedding, and they're both in committed relationships, and so but they're both clearly interested in each other, and they go through this long sequence of events where they're trying to do things that aren't cheating, but the way that it's
But in very sexual
yeah,
way,
not even in sexual
flirtatious.
ways, but very flirtatious, but almost very intimate, and the way that it portrays these things, it's almost like they're not cheating. They're not doing things that you would say is cheating, but the intimacy that they're sharing in that sequence is, almost worse. Realistically, they're sharing such an intimate moment that it is clearly cheating, and it's probably worse than if they had just had a one night stand or whatever.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I think that scene is so great because it's brief. I mean, maybe it's 6-7 minutes long,
Yeah.
and it is like the most strongest character development
Yeah.
within that time frame you could possibly ask for, or like relationship development between these two. Like you feel their attraction, how bad they want each other,
Yeah, you
and
feel
how
their
good they
longing.
are with each other.
Yeah.
Their longing and how good together they could be. All just within such a short amount of time. Like it takes movies sometimes like 2 hours to build something like that, and they were able to do it in just like 5 minutes in this movie.
I mean,
in a unique and creative way.
Yeah, it's kind of like we talk about Romeo and Juliet, where they just like go to a dance and they look at each other and immediately they're head over heels in love for each other. This is kind of the
like
same
Les
thing.
Mis and
Yeah, this is kind of the same thing where it's almost love at first sight, but done right. Like it's love at first like evening, and they just
while
share
still
these
being like
incredible...
decently economical.
Yeah,
with
definitely.
the like time that it takes up in the story. It's like people in Romeo and Juliet was like, what do you want to see, like all 20 of their dates, or like them just like hanging out talking? It's like kind of, but like you can do it quickly in an interesting way and still let me feel it.
And so that's definitely one thing that this movie does really well. There's especially when you kind of get to the end into some of the heavier stuff, the conversations that she has with her ex-boyfriend are pretty remarkable. Beautiful pieces of acting, beautiful pieces of writing, incredibly poignant and meaningful. And so I really enjoyed this movie. I really liked it. It is classified as a comedy romance movie. It's not really ha-ha funny, but it does have an interesting style that it really utilizes to great effect. And it's definitely a interesting movie. What do you think?
I think like you're saying, the style, them keeping it interesting, like for this being what is just a relationship drama, or like a late coming of age movie. It's not like teenager, but it's someone in their 30s trying to almost come of age in a similar way. The movie has like a pace to it that is like, and a momentum that is fun and interesting and enjoyable. Probably also has a lot to do with the chapters, like you were talking about earlier, keep the like pace of this movie moving, but also just like the tone of the movie in its drama or in its comedy. I don't know. I had a great time with it, and I was really into and invested in these characters and their relationships. And like a lot of great movies, like the dynamics of it, there was a handful of like really interesting stylistic like scenes throughout. Like we just listed that meeting at the wedding, or the day that happens to her right before she breaks up with one of her boyfriends. There's this like moment where the whole world like freezes, and it's done so well, and it's so clever. And then she returns right back to that moment, and the scene concludes. All the way up until some of like the more impactful decisions that happen at the end.
There's even like a drug. They take a scene where they take mushrooms, and a pretty intense mushroom trip, and
it gets crazy for a bit.
Really crazy.
Like really fucked up, and then you're to the point you don't even know if like it's actually happening, and then the morning you're like, oh shit, it did go down. Like shit did go down that last night. Right, I actually kind of forgot about the drug scene, but like it's the director of this movie like is really good and has an interesting eye for this kind of stuff.
For sure.
And I thought it was great. The conclusion of it, like, I guess we're not supposed to talk about ends, but how it's like everything's still kind of up in the air, and life continues moving on and you never have it figured out and you'll always continue to try.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like I kind of appreciated that.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked that it stayed up in the air, didn't have like such a definitive ending.
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, definitely an interesting movie. I thought there was some really great talent. I think I briefly touched on this, but the main character is really fantastic, charming. Um, let's see, what was her name?
She won at Cannes Film Festival. She
Okay.
won, the Best Actress category for
Oh
that.
wow. Okay.
I
Awesome.
saw that on Wikipedia. It's really good.
Yeah. Renate. Oh God. Renat
Yeah,
Rinsve.
Renat Riensve. I don't know.
Riensve. Oh God,
Sure.
butchered that. But yeah, she was really fantastic, really charming. Just like kind of portrayed this lovely but conflicted person. And then also particularly one of the boyfriends, I guess her first boyfriend, um, which I'm not immediately seeing his name, but yeah, especially towards the end, he gives some an incredible performance, as he's kind of dealing with his life and where he is. But yeah, I guess we could. I don't know. We're not going to jump into spoilers for this one. Did you have anything else you wanted to
No, I think
say
that's
about
good.
it?
Yeah, I think it's a great film.
Mm-hmm.
I almost hope it wins.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, but Drive My Car is nominated for both Best International Film and Best Picture, which almost I don't know if there has ever been a time where that's happened and the movie didn't win Best International Foreign Film.
Yeah, and it kind of
But
has to if you just
yeah,
think of like the
yeah,
statistics of voting or whatever. Like,
yeah.
if it's in the Best
Although
Picture category, it better be the best foreign film.
yeah, although I don't know if they necessarily vote for those two things at the same time.
Yeah, or the same groups of people, not
Yeah,
necessarily.
and they could be completely different group votes at completely different times, and I would think that it
Right.
is possible, but it would
Yeah, it
be.
would show like a fallacy in the like rating system,
Hmm.
but if it's two different groups of people, I guess it could
Yeah,
easily happen.
and I guess I don't know. And do you know if do they vote for the nominees first, and then once those are compiled, they then
Yeah.
later, maybe a month later after they're compiled, they
Yeah.
vote. So there's certainly the possibility that more people have seen more of the movies, or that it could shift or swing. But it would be strange, and definitely seems like anytime that happens, that movie wins either Best Animated Film or Best International Film or whatever.
Exactly.
Um,
But I wouldn't be disappointed.
hmm Definitely. Um, I'm still kind of root for Flea. I want
Oh
Flea.
yeah, I
I would
mean,
love it
for some
if
reason I just had these two on my radar, but yeah, there's always
I think
Flea.
it would be so cool if Flea swept all three of its nominations with
That
Best
would be insane. That would be
International
insane.
Film, Best Documentary, and uh, Best Best Animated,
Okay.
International, and Documentary.
Okay.
Anyways, well, yeah, let's move on and jump into our featured review, the Japanese film Drive My Car. And here we go again. Let's see if I can do any better. Directed by Ryusuke Hamaguchi. Uh,
Sounds good.
Hidetoshi Nashijima is moving into this movie is starring Hidetoshi Nishijama, Toko Miura. Oh God, this is so embarrassing.
None of these are that bad. Like,
Yeah,
don't be so hard on
true.
yourself.
It's just like I just know that they're so wrong, and yeah, just the struggle of it. So yeah, and many other, and actually, I don't think I recognized. I didn't recognize anyone from this movie. The director. I didn't recognize any of the work. I kind of briefly looked up some
Yeah,
of the
that was
people in
something I
this
wanted to
movie.
say about the worst person in the world.
Hmm.
Joshman Schreier, I actually
Yeah.
do recognize. I've seen, like, I saw Thelma in
Hmm. Yeah.
2017 because it was kind of like, it was kind of in the indie foreign film sphere when
Hmm.
that movie came out, and I did check it out.
Nice.
But like Oslo, August 31st, like back in 2011, I'm seeing here, that movie was
Hmm.
talked about a lot. I didn't see that one, but I have seen some of his past movies.
Yeah, I believe this is part of the Oslo. The worst person in the world is part of the Oslo trilogy.
Yeah,
Whatever that means. I assume they're pretty, disconnected. They're just movies that take place in Oslo.
we'll
Um,
need to go back.
yep, definitely. But yeah, let's get back into Drive My Car. Um, so yeah, the plot description is: after his wife's unexpected death, a renowned stage actor and director receives an offer to direct a production of Uncle Vanya in Hiroshima. There he begins to face the haunting mystery of his wife, uh, the haunting mysteries his wife left behind. Um, so yeah, I think we both saw this movie today. Is that correct? Did you see
Okay.
it today?
Yeah, I saw it today
Yep.
as well.
So yeah, I saw it. Maybe I just got out of the theater a couple hours ago. So this is a pretty.
What
These are
theater did
some
you
pretty
see it in?
hot takes. The Seattle AMC 10, kind of the more
Oh, okay.
indie AMC theater
Yeah,
here in
the Indie
Seattle.
AMC
Yeah.
Theater in Seattle.
Well,
All right.
it's 10 much smaller screens. They don't have any big screens, and they do play a lot more of the indie movies there
Yeah.
than any of their other theaters. Um, but yeah, so Brandon, what is your hot take for Drive My Car?
My hot take is I think this movie was good and fine. And I don't know how much I loved it while I sat there and appreciated a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I this movie, so I actually thought this director directed the Korean film Burning for some reason because I believe people are saying the author of the book Drive My Car
Mm.
wrote the like book that Burning was also based off of.
Okay.
Once I did my research, like that's what I found out. It's not that it was the same director; it's just that it was based on the same author's work.
Okay.
However, while I was watching this movie, I kind of was getting the same like kind of feelings I got out of Burning when I saw it. Like, um, people loved that movie, and it was like top tier end of the year stuff for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it necessarily had the impact on me, Drive My Car or Burning did that it did on other people. They're both long movies. They're both ponderous and slow,
Mm-hmm.
and you're watching the lead man figure out his life in his lost world that he's in. Um, and I could see it impacting a lot of people, especially with how kind of like beautiful and gorgeous and just like tranquil a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the like scenery and pacing that this movie is. But I don't necessarily know if it like broke my heart and made me fall in love with it
Mm-hmm.
in the end. So uh, it's like a decent thumbs up from me, I guess, to
Yeah.
summarize. I can get
So
into a lot of details, but
yeah, so I'm not too far off from you. What I would say
okay.
is, I think watching the movie, I would rate it one way, but then walking away from the movie, I would kind of rate it another way. I
Okay.
don't know that this is a movie that I would recommend to people, too many people. It is quite long. It is quite slow, and I think at its core, it's about communication and about how basically people, the reason, basically the reasons why people are either unable to or unwilling to communicate, uh, and how that affects their lives. And so basically, the entire movie is a lot of people with really bad communication. And so, and the movie kind of takes that as its style for telling its story. So that, in a way, I almost feel like the movie is not particularly good at, maybe good isn't the right word, but it's not actively communicating its purpose and story to the audience. And I do think I will say, like, I do think that's intentional. I do think there's a lot of creativity in how the movie uses that as its theme, and how it in its style, like the way it is acted and the way it's shot, is all very much in that theme. But it also makes for a movie that kind of drags and is not hard to follow in the sense of a story, but it's hard to like really get into. It's not really pulling you through the movie, because everyone and everything in this movie is very closed off. Yeah. However, it's walking away from this movie. I think I've been thinking about it. I mean, it's only been a couple hours, but I did think about it quite a bit. I think there's a lot of really creative choices made in this movie. I think it's what the movie is saying, and the things that it's portraying are poignant and smart and clever. The way it kind of presents its ideas. And so it might be a movie that in the long run I might come back to and continue to think about.
Think more fondly
of, but I don't think it is a movie that I would ever come back and want to watch again.
It's interesting that we are sharing, like, even Worst Person in the World and Now Drive My Car. We're like kind of on the same page. Yeah. Same with Flea before that. We were like saying a lot of the same things. But I get exactly what you mean. And
we're wearing the same headset, Brandon.
Oh, Jesus. There's one thing that this movie made me want to do is see the play Uncle Vanya, which seems like a really remarkable drama.
Which I had no idea what this play was while I was watching this movie. Part of me thought that it was like a script that his wife wrote for a chunk of the movie. Because no, it's not.
It's not. Okay.
It's not.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, because that would make things come more full circle in the story. If he was like doing
maybe she adapted it from its original, because the original is obvious. It's a Russian. Chekhov.
You looked it up.
Yeah, I actually did look it up before the podcast. It's a Chekhov Russian turn of the century play. So yeah, maybe it was adapted by his wife somehow, but yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean the play, like, the play seems really brilliant. They use the play a lot to like mirror exactly what the like message of what's going on in the real world, surrounding the main character and him directing the play. Like, to the point where like the ending of this movie is just us watching the ending of the play, and it kind of basically laying out exactly how we're supposed to feel about anything, which was pretty powerful. Actually, like, it worked well for me. But it made me really want to just watch the play as well. On a side note, I did recognize the first play that they were reenacting, Waiting for Godot, which I did see on Broadway a long time ago.
Nice.
Which is just like a really famous existential play that was written maybe in the 50s or earlier or something. But I recognized that right away when he was acting that. Maybe we could go into spoilers. I don't know, some details.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess there's some. Yeah, maybe we just go right into spoilers and so yeah, I will say this movie is obviously very highly rated by many, intelligent people,
film directors,
directors, critics. A lot of people really, really like this movie. I also, one thing I wanted to say is, like, the way that it's acted is very closed off as well. It doesn't particularly lend itself to a pleasant viewing experience, I guess. Anyways, so check it out. It is nominated for a bunch of awards. Check it out if you want. And
if you want to experience this film in like everything that it has going for it, like, I can't imagine like a theater, unless you have a lot of restraint on yourself, Like a theater has got to be the place to go
Yeah.
see this movie
Yep.
because it is quiet. It's 3 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I will say even for me, it was worth it. And for a lot of
Yeah.
people, it's extremely worth it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just like casually at home, like, I don't know if
Yeah.
this could play out in the same way. And it definitely would not have the impact or the beauty that comes across if you aren't like viewing it with care,
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And I will say I even checked the time a couple times during this movie, and I never do that.
Okay.
It's just it
Even though
is a
you were
long
trapped
movie.
in a dark
I
theater,
was
you
trapped in a
still pulled out
dark
your phone.
theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine
So,
just being on your couch, like eating dinner, hanging out. Yeah.
yeah, bag of chips.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Exactly.
anyways, so check it out if you're interested. If you've already seen it, or if you're not interested in seeing it, then stick around talking about spoilers from here on out. Okay, spoilers.
What did you think the ending meant? Are they like she's like
So
still driving a car
I
and
thought,
are they supporting each other? Are they dating each other?
I thought, so my take was, yeah,
Hmm.
I thought they were dating. I thought they were together. She was driving his car. So she had a dog, she had his car, and I'm not sure if this was accurate or if I just couldn't see it because of the shot, but wasn't her scar gone? Was she
Yeah,
missing
I
her
noticed that
scar?
too. Is that
Am
like
I
she went to get like
crazy?
some plastic surgery to
I don't
like
I don't even know if it's like a literal thing. Like,
it could not have been a mistake, but I noticed
no,
that
I
too.
don't think it was a mistake, but I don't know if we're necessarily supposed to think, oh, she must have gotten plastic surgery and the thing
She
just
was
went away.
able to
But
forgive
that was like,
herself or
I
something.
think that was more metaphorically her, because she got that scar um, from
That's
from the landslide
landslide.
that killed her
Yeah.
mom. Um, and I don't know. I think that was more supposed to be she no longer has that mark on her. She's kind of healed, so to
Okay.
speak, because of the what they've been through. I got the sense that they were dating, although I don't know.
I think the
Maybe
dog, you're
not,
right.
because
I
yeah,
think the dog though
I
is a
think
big
and
thing.
I think the overall kind of I think that's the dog is a callback to the one relationship in the movie where there was effective communication. So the one is the Korean couple with the I don't know, she's who does sign, the woman who does sign language, and the husband who learned sign language for her. So I think like that relationship kind of represents a couple who was able to, in spite of the hardships, was able to find a way to communicate. Um, and
Whoa.
that's the one relationship, or that's the one, you know the one group of people in the movie that could communicate effectively, and that's the one
Yeah,
relationship that was you know shown as being functional, I guess, that was shown to be a healthy, I guess, a nice kind of, they were the perfect couple. They had
for
their
sure.
house out in the country with the dog, and they were lovely couple. And so I think that dog was kind of a callback to that,
Yeah, and
meaning
in
that,
that scene, I remember the Korean man says like, "So, like, what do you think of your driver?" And like, he sits there and gives the most blunt, obvious, like,
mhm,
straightforward answer, which is
yeah,
very unexpected.
yeah,
He's
which
just
is
like,
also a one of the few times where anything is communicated effectively in the movie,
yeah,
in that
and he just
in that
lays it
kind of,
out. He's
yeah,
like gravity
mhm,
disappears when she drives me. It's like actually kind of like
yeah,
poetic the way he
yeah,
describes it.
definitely. And
And then
then,
she like walls him off and like goes down to the dog,
yeah,
right? And
that's
uses that as a
interesting.
distraction.
What does that mean?
She
But why
doesn't. She
does,
doesn't
so
answer
she
it
has
really.
the distraction at the end of the movie? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of all the stuff that I'm gonna be mulling over for the next chunk of time. Um, and as I like kind of go over it more, I think I am going to look back at the movie more and more fondly. Um, but again, to come back to it, it's it's kind of hard to it's hard to get there.
Yeah, and
Oh,
this isn't the only film that's like that. It's like, a little torturous, not torturous, it's such an extreme word,
yeah,
but a
it's
little hard or grueling to watch,
yeah.
but there's like so much like to look back in throughout those 3 hours. You
Hmm.
definitely think a lot about it.
And it's not.
Um,
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
the there's a couple things that stand out. I wanted to point out the opening credits
Hmm.
that come in like 45 minutes into the movie,
Oh, right.
which is like a fun decision kind of thing. For like
Yeah.
to show like I was like kind of time passes at that point, like a big thing happens, you show the credits, and that's kind of like showing
Hmm.
separation of these two parts of the story a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's kind of also ballsy to throw a 45-minute cold open into your 3 hour
Hmm.
movie, right?
Yeah, you
That
don't
was a
even
cool
notice
decision.
that you're. Well, I will say first of all, I I walked in as like after the movie had started. I think it was, you know, a minute late at the most.
Okay, okay.
While she's like there in bed telling her story in that
Yeah.
opening scene.
And then that's exactly how it opens. It
Yeah.
opens with her sitting up and starting to ramble about
Hmm.
Dottie. You don't know what's happening.
Hmm.
They like didn't show them
Yeah.
having sex because he
Yeah.
talks about it later. But it's cool. Like that is one thing. Like that's like many things in this movie.
Hmm.
That's one thing that is really interesting and well written and powerful in this movie
Hmm.
is when he references back to like that kind of really strange way their relationship went that kept it living for so
Hmm.
long.
Yeah.
Was the way she like expressed her art through having sex, I
Uh
guess,
huh.
and got ideas for writing her screenplays.
Yeah.
Um, and then how that's how we started in the movie, and like we don't find that out till like 2 hours and 20 minutes later,
Hmm.
was just really creative and interesting.
Yeah.
And it's just like a crazy story plot detail
Yeah. And
that
then
comes full
you
circle.
like get the first half of that story from one
Hmm.
character, and then another character comes in later, and
That's also done the
and
same
like
thing with
does
her.
kind of the second half of the story, but it's also like, was that the end of the story? I thought that was pretty creative. Um,
And like just how many like little details of beauty in this movie, like even that story that those characters are telling, like the wife throughout the beginning, and the actor in the car when he's filling in the second half, like that's an interest. Like
mhm.
those moments I was like captivated just
Yeah.
hearing them talk about the story that was in their heads
Hmm.
and how beautiful it was and well written it was, and like the way she spoke about it was like already a refined novel kind of thing.
Hmm.
um,
Yeah, definitely.
that was really good.
Hmm. Yeah, I wanted to get back to the acting, and
Hmm.
how I do think like there was a very intentional kind of method to the way that these actors played in this movie. I think, did you get the sense that they were throughout the entire movie acting like they were just like how the director wanted them to read the script in those read throughs?
That's pretty deep.
Um, so
But keep going with your
in the
theory.
yeah, so
Like, tell me your theory.
in the read, well, I don't really have much of a theory. I just think it's like, so in the read throughs he kept telling them just read it, don't, because the actors kept trying to, to work on their performance as they were just doing the
Yeah.
read through. And also, so when he was in the car, and he was doing the lines with his wife, the tape recording of his wife. With them, it was very much the same thing, where it was she was just literally reading the lines,
Mhm.
and he was reciting the lines back without any emotion, without any
Yeah.
kind of flair whatsoever. And
A
in
little
that,
interjection. I
yeah.
remember the first time we see him in the car listening to like the lines back to him.
Hmm.
Like they don't give you any information.
Yeah.
Like you don't know if it's a voiceover, if it's in his
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
Like,
Because it didn't even really
and
sound like a cassette tape. It
yeah, it
sounded
was just so poignant and clear. And
someone
it's
in
not
the
till like,
car.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not till a half hour later or something when he says like press play on the tape, then
Hmm.
you're like, oh shit, that's what
Hmm.
he was doing back then.
I mean, I kind of got that, but yeah, they didn't make it
Okay.
explicit until way later on.
Yeah,
But
but keep
yeah,
going. Sorry.
so I mean, I'm right now I'm kind of working through it in my head
Hmm.
as I'm speaking, but So yeah, and then in those rehearsals, he was telling them to just read the script, no emotion, just read it, just do nothing but read the script. And I felt like that is how the actors were playing their roles throughout the entire movie. Almost no one at any point throughout the entire movie showed any real emotion, or was even communicated any real emotion. And kind of the only time that any real emotion was able to come through, it almost felt like it was forcing its way out of that box that the characters were kind of trying to keep it in. Like especially towards the end when the main character is having his big kind of revelation at the driver's
In the
mom's
snow.
house in the snow.
Yeah.
It really was like, it just kind of started out. He's just like kind of looking off into the distance, saying these very beautiful poetic lines. Kind of going through his whole emotional arc there, and then just like the eyes just like start to water, and it's just like it kind of forces its way through, and it really barely pushes through in that moment, and then like he even kind of pulls it back in the end, and I felt like that was, it really comes back to how the movie portrays communication of emotion. And
everything really, like everything inside of him really builds up
mm-hmm.
until that final scene, the final moment,
Mm-hmm.
until he finally like kind of cracks and finally admits how he kind of actually feels inside, which he
Mm-hmm.
hasn't done up until that point. As for their performances being more stiff in lines, I think it's the characters kind of need to perform it that way because that's who they are in the moment, so it works
Mm-hmm.
on that level. But like you're saying, it could be a part of one of the director's callbacks
Mm-hmm.
to that
Yeah.
scene in the script reading. Like you're saying,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Just read it, don't put any emotion into it yet.
Yeah.
Just practice what you're saying.
Yeah. And it really,
To
and it
memorize
also kind of makes for the scene, I guess, especially in the end, the scene where they're doing the play and they're actually doing like a big performance of that play, doing the big theatrical, line readings, and like kind of that contrast between how it's depicted up in the theater in a play, and how like kind of almost the reality of it, but it's also almost a little bit not realistic the way that they play those characters. There was like an interesting juxtaposition there. To kind of make that climax of the film really interesting.
One thing I needed to mention, because it is kind of like pretty much maybe a third of this movie or half of the movie, and the title "Drive My Car," the scenes of them driving through Tokyo or through the
Mm-hmm.
countryside or onto the ferry.
Mm-hmm.
There's even this like one of the final shots of them driving is like when they're going through this tunnel when she's going back home. That is like so stark and beautiful at times. I remember there's this like tracking shot in these like fields with these like huge telephone wires and
Mm-hmm.
poles. And it's just like it was kind of like jaw dropping at some moments.
Yeah.
It was really well done. They also do these like really long zoomed in shots pulling back as he's going through the dialogue on this cassette tape and trying to learn it.
Mm-hmm.
That just show them driving for maybe last like 45 seconds long.
Hmm.
All that like sets like a mood for the film, and just like a visual style that was really really great.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to like compliment on something that took up probably a third of the film's runtime.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, that those parts were interesting as much
Mm-hmm.
as Eli like would check my phone. A lot of those like were so beautiful, like I couldn't look away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So kind of there's just kind of a duality to this movie. a lot of them, and yeah, a lot of the more interesting decisions that were made in this movie kind of detract from the viewing experience of it, but also make it really interesting to talk about and interesting movie to think about.
Icon.
So yeah, I think I'm good with that.
Definitely.
Yeah. That was Drive My Car and The Worst Person in the World. Go check them out. Both are in theaters. Drive My Car is pretty limited right now. Actually, both of them are pretty limited. But maybe come out on for streaming soon. Maybe we'll see. Next week, are we officially?
That's it. Top 10 countdown.
Top 10
Finally.
of the year. There's still a bunch of movies that I need to see. There's probably like 14 movies that I want to see. I'm going to try and knock a few of them out. I think I've seen most of the main ones, but there's a couple.
We're going to get the whole gang together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nick, Derek, us. That'll be great.
Mm-hmm. Be super fun. So tune in for that next week, and we will see you later. All right. Bye.
Bye.